I'm Jamal Williams from Fort Worth, Texas. I love Progress Texas because it's my daily update on what is happening in real politics in Texas, and I love hearing what's happening.
It is May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm your host for today, Tatum Owens, and handing the mic back to our favorite podcast host, Chris Mosier, tomorrow. Here at Progress Texas, we amplify progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our no paywall podcast and digital media, we make Texas politics easy to understand and participate in. Lies in Texas are well funded by the far right, but your support for independent, fact-based media hands the mic to millions of Texans. Our thanks to Camille Tucker, Daniel Leonard, and Brooke Simons for their ongoing, sustaining support. As the Louisiana v. Calais and Texas MAPS decisions from the Supreme Court last week still linger in the air, eroding equal voting rights, a silver lining in a new ruling regarding the abortion pill mifepristone. Aiden Runnels and Terry Langford at the Texas Tribune shared an update that a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling was blocked temporarily for at least a week by the Supreme Court. That leaves telemedicine access to an abortion available nationwide. It is still legal for doctors to provide mifepristone by telemedicine or by mail, and the Louisiana Fifth Circuit ruling would have required that the pill be obtained in person, illegal in states that ban abortion like our own and Louisiana. Mifepristone prescribed virtually provides a workaround for patients who need an abortion in states that ban it. This pill is one of a two-part regimen to end a pregnancy, including for miscarriages, and remains one of the most used methods, with 2/3 of Americans using it to provide a safe abortion. This story is not over, with Justice Alito blocking the ruling to take time for the court to consider the case. But for now, access nationwide is still in place for telemedicine, virtual abortion access for critical reproductive health care. This is vital in our state, with some of the highest maternal mortality rates, disproportionately so for Black women, lowest insured rates in the country, and noting the impact that lack of abortion access has on most impacted communities. That's Black, Brown, and Indigenous Texans, rural Texans, Texans with disabilities, because all Texans, regardless of age, race, income, zip code, gender identity, immigration status, or whether they are incarcerated or detained, should have access to the full range of reproductive health care. I'll take this win for the week, knowing that my neighbors, that the majority of this state does not accept the rollback of our reproductive rights for partisan games. Continuing off-court wins, even if temporary, Stephen Simpson at the Texas Tribune reported that a Travis County district judge ruled that the pause on the ban of smokable hemp THC can continue for now. Legal since 2019 in the Texas Farm Bill, state law requires hemp to contain less than 0.3% of Delta-9 THC. The statewide ban came earlier this month, and Texas Hemp Business Council, Hemp Industry and Farmers of America, and several Texas-based dispensaries and manufacturers do not have to comply with new testing requirements that would ban the sale of these products as a result for now. This hold lasts until the next meeting at the end of July. However, a separate decision on Delta-8 THC from the Texas Supreme Court could impinge on this temporary win, with the court upholding a ban that criminalizes the hemp compound. Businesses can still sue to stop it, but the nut of this story is behind the Supreme Court of Texas's argument. Simpson at the Tribune adds that their decision says state law gives a state agency overarching authority to protect Texans. This could be used to ban any hemp products, which could only be undone by the legislature. Off the note of the legislature's powers, the ACLU of Texas, and Texas Civil Rights Project have filed a class action lawsuit challenging the extreme 2023 law SB 4, or Senate Bill 4, the bill that lets Texas police arrest, detain, and remove those that they suspect of entering Texas illegally. They argue that this is a federal matter, as immigration law is the federal government's domain. These civil rights groups are seeking emergency relief to block portions of the law from taking effect May 15th. ICE is already enabled to conduct racial profiling as cause enough to detain someone. Police are forced to cooperate with ICE, and these civil rights groups warn that this cruel, unconstitutional, illegal law would lead to even more civil rights abuses by our so-called justice system against everyday people, especially targeting Black and brown Texans. The law will go into effect next week. For an in-depth look at the harm extreme immigration policy like this results in, Lomi Creel at the Texas Tribune wrote a detailed account of how Ruben Martinez's killing by ICE, that's the first killing by ICE under Trump's second administration that went underreported for so long, has sent shockwaves through his and friend Josh Orta's families, who blame the government for the loss of their children. Away from immigration and to the economy and environment, you'll remember that last week we shared Claire Howe at the Dallas Morning News' coverage reporting that our state, the nation's energy capital, shuts off the most utility customers. This fact, that amounts to 3 million shutoffs compared to most states rounding out to 500K, remains a travesty, paired with rising utility costs over the years as well, in practice leaving those who can't pay the bills without power. In this state facing more and more extreme weather events, dangerous and profitable for power companies. The update here comes from Congressman Greg Casar, who previously filed a Connect the Grid Act, which we were proud to endorse here at Progress Texas for the vast impacts and safety net that would provide across the state for electricity coverage. Olivia Bergula at the Texas Tribune reports that Rep. Casar has filed a Lowering Utility Bills Act, aimed at what it sounds like lowering utility costs for consumers. Sponsored by Houston Reps Al Green and Christian Menefee, along with members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which Casar chairs, the bill would cap profit margins for providers and limit how they spend money collected from ratepayers. In his words, quote, "This bill is about a simple idea. You should not pay more so that a private utility CEO can rent a private jet," unquote. Casar shared that the American Economic Liberties Project estimated the bill would save the average family $500 a year. This bill is unlikely to pass, but Borgula notes that as part of the progressive new affordability agenda the caucus is focused on, addressing the cost of living, this economic populist framework could be a helpful blueprint for Democrats if they take the midterms. Speaking of blue wins, the Pearland mayoral race resulted in a close win, with 51% of the votes for Democratic-endorsed candidate Quentin Wiltz in this Republican-leaning suburb in Brazoria County. Brazoria County Democratic Party remarked that Pearland voters, quote, elected a Black Democrat to be mayor in a red county and a red state, which marks the time for Pearland to embrace its growing diversity and the opportunity to achieve great progress, and reflects the growing progressive base that calls Pearland home, unquote. Jasmine Laws at Newsweek reported that, quote, in recent weeks, there has been a trend of Democratic-backed candidates making gains in seats typically held by Republican-endorsed electives, which could be an early warning sign for the GOP as the November midterms draw nearer, though the party has largely dismissed their impact, unquote. The impact of these elections as an omen should not be understated, but also having champions for democracy and people power in office shouldn't either. A win is a win, and let's keep that wave going. That's all for today, but before you go, don't forget the statewide primary runoffs take place later this month on May 26th. For the midterm runoffs, early voting will begin on May 18th. More on all of this at our carefully crafted voting information website, govotexas.org. And there's a nice online tool from the Texas Tribune that shows you exactly who will be on your runoff ballot based on your address and party. See that link in the show notes. And we have not one but two live events on the calendar right now in both Dallas and the Houston area. First up, we'll be in Cypress at the very cool Creekwood Grill for a live podcast taping. Seating is limited and an RSVP is required, so check out the link in the show notes for this live podcast taping with Cy-Fair ISD board members on Wednesday, May 20th. Thank you to our generous sponsors, Sean Finney, the Honorable Leslie Briones, and Otis Evagaru. And here at Progress Texas, we are also getting ready for our 16th anniversary celebration in Dallas with drinks, light bites, and a fun review of the highlights of our successes over the last few years. Save the date, which is Tuesday, June 16th, and see the link in the show notes to reserve your spot. Thank you to those who have done so already, and our sponsors, Howard Cleon, Charles Zeller, Alex Andrade, the Honorable Dick Levine, the Honorable Bill Peterson, and Mark Yagjian. And when you get to those events, do snag some merch to match your values. Our web store is live and ready for you to grab some Y'all Means All, Resist, Humans Against Abbott, shirts, stickers, and buttons. Link in the show notes. That is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for today. It's been fun, and happy Cinco de Mayo, a day of celebration. I'll remind you, Independence Day comes later in November, and links to all of these original stories can be found in our show notes. When lies in Texas are well funded by the far right, your support for fact-based reporting is needed and appreciated. I'm Tatum Owens. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time around. See you tomorrow from Chris Mosher again.